Hey everyone, I'm Ryan at Marine Parts Source, and we are digging into another episode of From Broken to Floatin'. We're still working on our old pontoon boat, and in this episode we're going to be talking about all things electrical. Now I've got Miguel here with me. He's one of our ABYC certified experts at Marine Parts Source. He's actually the guy that's been doing all the hard work on the pontoon, getting it ready for the water. So Miguel, we're going to talk about all the different electrical components that you installed on the pontoon. And let's start by talking about the battery system first. Why don't you tell us what you did there?
Well, we started with a battery box here from Moeller. It was obviously just a plastic battery box, keeps it contained so we don't have any spills or doesn't flip over or anything like that as we're running down the lake. Has these great knockouts for the battery cable to come out. Also gives us a great place to mount our short-stop battery circuit protection from Blue Seas there, which ABYC requires within 7 inches of that power source, the battery there. From there, we moved on to the battery switch. It's also a Blue Seas product.
Yeah, and these battery switches are great. Blue Sea makes really high quality products, and there's a variety of options that you can get with these battery switches, whether you just need a single circuit protection or you've got dual circuits that you want to be able to have combined protection or just protect one or the other. So there's a lot of different options. There's heavy duty options. There are different colors and sizes. So you can see all of those on the Marine Parts Source website, as well as all of these products, the fuse protection, the battery box. Now tell us about this fuse block that you used.
Yeah, so that particular fuse block there is pretty neat because it has both the negative bus and also the fusible spots for all of your positive feeds to all your different accessories. So you have just one feed to the negative, one feed to the positive, and then you can branch off from there from a bunch of different little screws you have on those bus bars there. So it really works out well. You got those blade style fuses so that you don't play with the little glass like that old style stuff.
Right, it's just a lot more user friendly.
Absolutely.
And obviously, once again, there's a lot of different options with these fuse blocks depending on how many circuits that you're needing to feed. Right. There's different sizes available. So another thing that you did was a lot of wiring on this boat, and this is one of the issues that we see a lot of people run into problems with, is selecting the right type and size of wire for what their application is. Absolutely. So why don't you just kind of walk us through what you did there?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different kinds of wire here. We sell it by the 100-foot spool. It's definitely high quality, high grade marine wire. It is tin coated, stranded wire, which is something that you definitely want to use. Some people, you'll see use Romex, you'll see all kind of different stuff on boats, and it is absolutely necessary to use that stranded wire. It's flexible. It provides corrosion resistance with that tin coating. It's just a really great product and very cheap for what we sell it for.
And that's an ABYC standard as well that they've set in terms of the tin coated wire, the stranded type of wire. You don't want to use the type of wire that you might buy in a typical automotive parts store.
Yeah,
It needs to be the marine grade stuff.
Wire. Yeah, and then you also run into your different sizes of wire, which is another thing that we can possibly help with, or if we have the run, if we have the amperage draw of your different products, whether it's a necessity or whether it's just an accessory item, you would be able to choose different wires from a chart we provide from Blue Seas. It's pretty good stuff.
And actually, we've got an article on our site that discusses how to properly identify the correct size of wire for your application. And if you just check the link below, you can find that article and see the chart that Miguel is referring to, and it should be a much easier process for you to select the right size of wire. And of course, you've got all of these different connecting components as well that you used, right?
Yep, all these different connecting components, most of them heat shrink pieces, so they're going to give you a good solid connection and also a waterproof connection. So you're not just trying to tape around something or something like that. We sell the loose heat shrink, does a fantastic job as well. We a lot of times will use that on larger items, but you can use it on the smaller items if you want it as well. Got some butt connectors there. Just had all kind of different connections that we had to make for all throughout the switches, the gauges, all of it.
Sure. So from there, we really moved to the dash. You did a lot of work up on the dash, installing new components there. So why don't you kind of tell us what you did as far as the dash wiring?
Yeah. So So we started with the ignition switch. This ignition switch was definitely one that we had that was specific for our application. It's a 6-position switch, has the push to choke, which many of the outboards have. This is a Sierra product here, as well as this kill switch here is as well. These are now required by the Coast Guard, so essentially if you were to fall out of the boat with this lanyard, it would kill your engine as you fall out of the boat and doesn't continue to circle or run unattended. So,
and as you mentioned, this is specific to our application, but there's a lot of variation.
A lot of variations,
ignition switches
a lot
out
of different,
there.
lot of different options: 3 connection, 5 connection, 7 connection, all kinds of different.
So it's really important to pay attention to what you currently have. You want to replace it with a ignition switch, can do the same thing.
Exact same thing. That's right.
Okay, and from the ignition switches, then we get to the gauges, right?
Yep. So this gauge set here we did is just a standard gauge set, has the mechanical speedometer on it. They do also offer one, Faria does, with the GPS speedometer. A little bit more expensive, but definitely more accurate. We also decided to add 2 more accessory gauges. We actually added 3 accessory gauges, one of which a depth sounder, which we currently don't have here. But we did a mercury specific trim gauge, and we also did a water pressure gauge. These are pretty important for that pontoon boat because you're not close to the engine. The console was pretty far away from the engine, so you don't necessarily see the water shooting out of the side of the outboard with it, and you don't see the trim on the engine. So it could be a little high or a little low, and you wouldn't know it unless you were really listening to that engine, if you were really plugging along.
So they're really handy to have there at the dash while you're operating the boat. And then you've got a number of switches as well that you added.
Yep. So had a whole bunch of switches here. Those are specific as well. Like I say, the horn will just be a off and then a momentary on, so that it doesn't obviously blare the horn for a long time.
Sure.
You've got double pole, double throw for your anchor lights and the running lights, so that you can either run just that anchor light or the navigation lights only, depending on whether you're underway. Here's another great little piece from Blue Seas, is this expandable panel that interconnects. You can put multiple pieces in there.
Right, they're modular, so however many switches you need, you can add, end pieces on either side, and then as many middle pieces as you need to fill up your dash. And you actually added a blank one as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I did that just so in case down the road, if we wanted to add rope lighting or additional accessories, we have that already in place, already have it cut, and we don't have to go back and replace that. So just give us a little bit more expandable option down the road. So
saving work down in the future.
Piece. Yeah, and these are really helpful because when you're cutting those contour switches, it's a very precise cut that you have to make, and if you do that, there's likely to miss one of them. But with this gives you a little extra hiding room, a little bit of room to fudge there. So if you run into a little mistake, that's something you could do as well.
And then it's a clean installation.
Very good.
It looks nice on the front as well. You also added one of these USB connectors as well, right?
Yeah, so this, obviously everybody's using these for phones and all kinds of various things to charge. This one has a dual USB function here, and it's just a super easy piece. You just run 2 wires to it there in the bottom, and then you can charge your phone while you're right out on the water, or any other DC accessory.
Perfect. Now I should mention, with a lot of these components, wiring diagrams are going to come included, like with the gauges or the ignition switch, right? Probably some of these components don't have that type of diagram, right?
Not so much. Some of them do. Some of them show the pinouts inside the box. Some of them are kind of straightforward, like the USB. They don't give you a whole lot. It's just 2 wire connections.
Sure.
It's not super forward, but like I say, everything else pretty much comes with it. This just makes or breaks the ignition line, so you're not getting any wiring diagram. They kind of expect you to know it. Switches, luckily, the ignition switches do come with it. They're on the back and kind of show you what you need to connect.
Absolutely. Okay, now with any job, you can make life a lot easier if you have the right tools. So you've got a number of tools here. Why don't you walk through what these are and how you use them in this job?
Yeah, so we just have a couple of different basically. So this is a ratcheting crimper or a standard crimper. This piece actually just allowed us to make a real clean, real sure connection. So once you had it all the way locked down, it automatically releases. We do actually offer a lot of these tools through Anchor. We don't stock them, but we can definitely special order them for you if you need us to. This is just kind of the old style crimper with a single spike and the cutter on the end. Very simple, but a great piece too to have.
Super common
when you
type
need,
tool.
yeah, when you need it. Wire strippers, we use these all day, every day while we were cutting wire, stripping wire, just all day.
Sure.
The much larger cables, like the battery cables, or even small wires, sometimes these aren't as easy to cut wire as this big lopper. These big loppers, they just literally just cut through like butter, even large stuff.
Okay.
The last crimper that I have is a large battery terminal crimper. So that's the ones there that you're seeing
like
here.
These metal lugs here.
The tin coated copper lugs. And this is kind of a specialty crimper as well. We actually do offer a little bit of this in-house, where we'll make up battery cables for people from time to time, but it just makes it so that you make a really secure connection and don't have a lot of resistance or heat once that connection's made.
Excellent. And one final tool that I've got sitting over here on this side is this heat gun that you used, right?
Yeah, that's something obviously you've got to have whenever you're using it for your heat shrink. Whenever you're just trying to make those watertight connections, these actually have adhesive in them as well, so it makes that connection that much stronger. We would just do the little pull test, make sure it wasn't going to pop off. Once we did that, we'd melt that heat shrink with either this or a little mini torch, which you've probably seen on some of those videos, and it would just really finish out the job. So it's pretty important piece as well.
Terrific. Well, I've got some good news for you, Miguel, and that is that the job is done on the pontoon.
Yeah.
Our next video, we're actually going to be launching it. So I know that you're glad that the hard work is done. And if you guys just tune in next time, we're going to finally get to the floating part of from broken to floating. And we're going to get that pontoon on the water. So make sure and check that out. Additionally, please like and subscribe to our channel. If you've got any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below. And of course, if you'd like some help on your project, some advice, you can contact our ABYC certified experts at the number below. You can always find us online at marinepartssource.com. Thanks for watching.